everybody. I wanted to come on here on Sunday night and introduce you to somebody. Some of you may know my husband, Jared, and some of you may not. Jared is a pastor, but he's also what?
Well, I am a therapist, and I work under supervision here in Michigan, and I have kind of a dual degree. I have 2 masters. One's in theology, and the other one is in counseling and marriage and family therapy. So that means basically I can see anybody from individuals to groups to family, whole family systems. And so I went for a wide array of people to be able to serve with that particular master's degree.
Right. And so yesterday was World Mental Health Awareness Day. And so I just thought I would bring on a therapist to kind of give some recommendations during this time, and just to sort of give people a place to, something to think about during this time regarding mental wellness. So I wanted to bring a professional because I'm not, although he's given me plenty of ideas. So we were discussing, like, maybe not necessarily his top 3, but just 3 recommendations that he could give regarding mental wellness right now. So,
okay, first of all, this is more from sociological observation than from crunching statistics, if you can put it that way. And this first one really has to do with our region of the country here in Michigan and probably any place in the north. And what I've observed is that we are exhibiting a lot of the same symptoms of another common issue that we have here every year. So I would just say this: think about how frustrated possibly everyone feels during the month of February, for instance, in Northwest Michigan and above.
45th parallel.
45th parallel, exactly. We are halfway between the equator and the North Pole, and it only gets colder from here. Our particular area right here has about 3 feet of snow most of the winter sitting on the ground. And so by February, we just have cabin fever. We are not a skiing family. We're not people who just get out a lot. And I think that's kind of what we're facing. We have to be aware of it as a family. And I think as a society, we need to be aware of it emerging from this time. Emotions can run high. Isolation can do crazy things to us, cabin fever. And we can come out of this time, if we're not careful, just frustrated. It doesn't really help that it's an election year. Part of the problem that I think we're witnessing on these social media outlets is nothing more than cabin fever. People are just highly frustrated, and an election year is just one of those other ways to vent that frustration, right, even though it's misplaced. And so my recommendation would just be to kind of take a step back, look at it objectively as something like that, and remember that that's something we've all experienced. This is a social phenomenon that will mark us for all of history. This will go down in the books. So taking a step back and taking a deep breath and thinking about regions of the country like this where we have cabin fever, right, for half the year.
Like, what do we normally do in those times when
exactly,
we're feeling shut in?
Yep. Yeah. And so, I mean, that kind of leads to the second thing. The second thing is this, that we have been talking, we've caught this idea of new normal. It's been a catchphrase, and the new normal is the idea of, let's just go with whatever restrictions we have to. Let's just kind of shoulder our way through this and establish a new routine and do what we need to do to make it through this time. Well, now a lot of states, not every state, but a lot of states are starting to relax the restrictions. And so I guess my concern would be that once we've settled into a routine, that we turn around and redefine our routines. Take
right,
advantage of these, they're not really new freedoms, but just take advantage of your sense of freedom again. Get out, do what you need to do, all those type of walks in the park, all those things as you can do. So
I think they can feel like new freedoms, especially for California and Michigan.
Right.
I think we have the tightest restrictions for the longest amount of time. So
well, I think Virginia and New York would be right there with us. Yeah. But I think one
some
of the
people
things,
don't know what we're talking about.
No, they don't.
Because they've been so free.
Just
for
look
a
it up
while.
on Facebook. There's all kinds of stuff politically about it. But the main thing I want to point out is this. Anytime there's a change in routine, it affects you as a person. People present to me with problems for their kids, problems for themselves, depression, things that I don't know how many parents have come to me with kids they think have ADD. They don't. They just have different routines at home and different routines at school. Mm-hmm. And they're doing better in one setting than the other. And we start to bridge that gap for the sake of the kid, and it helps that kid to establish a structure. It's the same way with people. So many times we think we need this or we need that. We don't. We just need to establish a routine. And it's the same way for families. Sometimes it's the same way for whole systems, little communities or groups that you're a part of. So establish the routine that you can as we emerge from this new normal and we kind of get back into our freedoms. Make some new routines. Enjoy autumn. Enjoy it. And establish some routines that help you do so.
So what's something that we do as routines?
Well,
especially in the autumn.
In autumn, we like a lot of cider,
patches.
Pumpkin patches,
pumpkin donuts.
Pumpkin donuts,
now
yes.
Gluten-free pumpkin donuts.
Every once in a while, we torture our kids by going for a long drive just to see the leaves.
Hiking is beautiful this time of year.
Right.
Michigan's got a really long, cold winter, but they do have some beautiful, what do they call it? The color tour up here. So color tour is gorgeous. Going for a hike, carving a pumpkin, just getting outside, I think, is huge for a lot of people. Right. Still soaking up as much sun as you can before it begins to hide.
Right. And along that lines, I have researched this. There's been studies, top-notch studies all summer coming out of America and Europe. And being outside greatly reduces the risks that we're facing. Yeah. Being 6 feet apart from somebody else is the greatest risk, or is the greatest risk reducer, even above mask wearing. Your particles that would cause any kind of sickness are just not going to project that far. It's just impossible. Studies were done on that early on in Germany, and I researched all of that. So if you are uncomfortable meeting somebody at the mall, meet them at the park. It's going to reduce the risk that much more. Establish some new routines.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then number 3, what's...
This one's a no-brainer. Right now, there are so many community groups that are starting to meet again, but especially since we've all been isolated, we're social creatures. Probably dogs are the only thing on the planet that are more social than us. That's just a guess. But, we're social creatures. So, find those groups, reestablish those groups. I've even been thinking if you have considered putting your kids in sports in the past and you haven't, maybe this is the year. Right. Maybe this is the year just because, not just for your kids, but just sitting in the stands with people and enjoying mixing it up with somebody. Don't be isolated. And then beyond that, I am a little biased as a pastor, but I would say consider a community of faith. Not everybody can afford to go to a therapist. Not everybody can do that or just do that on a regular basis if they need to get through a few weeks. But you will probably find a pretty good group in town at a Christian church that can be catered to your specific needs. You can find these type of groups that are re-meeting. At our particular church, we already have some groups that are meeting again that are not even affiliated with our church. They just meet in our building. Right. So there are groups like that. And the reason why I say that is because we always think psychology and Christianity are so far apart, but the word psyche for psychology is the word soul in the Greek. And anytime we're digging down just a little bit below the surface, past, popcorn and whatever, hot dogs and stuff at a game, and we're getting to the level of the soul, then we are really doing something that is benefiting our entire person holistically. And we have to keep that type of thing in mind as well.
Oh, I like that. That's really good. So, okay, let's recap. We have the 3 things that you mentioned. Go ahead.
just give yourself a break. We're really not experiencing anything much more than cabin fever, and we're just experiencing it collectively as a society. I'm sorry for the rest of you that are experiencing it, but here in Northwest Michigan, we experience it every year. So
in a bad way.
Right.
Do.
The second thing is that with the new normal, we got used to that. Now we are having our freedoms giving back to us, so we're changing our routines again this year. But be mindful of that and just do things that are fun for you and your family, and establish a routine, even if that means a new daily routine for you.
Right.
That structure will benefit you and your family. Third, take advantage of community opportunities, whether that's going to a game, serving somewhere, if there's a community group that's serving, or getting back involved with a community of faith, or getting involved with the church for the first time.
Right.
This is a perfect time to consider that.
Oh, thank you, Jared.
Oh, you're welcome, ma'am.
So I just wanted to bring a little bit more awareness to yesterday's World Mental Health Day, and that's why I decided to have Jared answer some of those questions and just give you some tips and things to think about moving forward during this time. And then finally, Jared is a therapist. I mentioned that earlier, and during this time especially, he has lowered his rates for online counseling. So if you are in need of some counseling, if you just need to meet with someone a few times or 100 times, he's available to do that. And even outside of the state of Michigan, he can do that as long as your state laws would allow him to do that. But he would be happy to check into that for you. So we just wanted to offer that to you, and hope that you found some value in this today, and have a good Sunday night. Bye.
Bye.